Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Johnny Vlogs. I know it looks a little bit different. I'm trying to test out the new equipment to make sure it's all going to work good for Friday's first live Johnny Vlogs. That is happening this Friday, March 31st, 2 p.m. Central. I know it's in the middle of the day. It's probably going to be hard for some of you to get to, but I'm asking if you can be there. Please do be there. We're going to do a regular episode of Johnny Vlogs, follow it up with an open Q&A session where you can ask me questions right on the fly, all live. So thank you so much for bearing with me. This is actually the second time I am shooting this vlog today because the audio was terrible on the first pass. I think you'll thank me. If you heard how bad it was, I think you would totally thank me. So before we get started, let's thank the new Patreon supporters. We have Jonathan Torres. Thank you so much. We also have Nocturnal Druid. Very cool name. As well as Lon F. Thank you, Lon. Donna Macmillan, thank you so much for the support, Donna. And someone that just came on right before I filmed this, Nathaniel Grant. Thank you for all of your support. I truly appreciate it, and I know the causes that we donate to on behalf of my awesome Patreon supporters also appreciate that. So thank you guys. Today's talk is going to be just a little interesting. I'm sure you've heard me mention Babel Froggy before. She's done some research for the show. Whenever she bumps into a cool idea, she is sure to send it my way. And she told me a story. Well, she told me to look into the story of this fellow named Angelo Hayes. And let's see if I can get this screen sharing thing working okay. If I did things right, you should be. Yep, you are. You're looking at my screen with me. Awesome. I love it. All right, so Angelo Hayes. I found a few write-ups on him, and most of them are basically just kind of repeating the Wikipedia story. They kind of embellish it maybe a little bit. I like this Oddities Bizarre version of it, so I'm going to read some from it, but if you want to check out the whole thing, of course, it will be in the description box below. You can come and read the whole article. Angelo Hayes. He was a Frenchman who was born in 1918. At the age of just 18, he decided to take a ride on his motorcycle. Not long after taking off on his bike for a joyride, Hayes was in an accident. He was thrown from his motorcycle head first into a brick wall. The impact messed up his face so bad, his own parents were not even allowed to view his body. When doctors examined Hayes, they could not find a pulse. He was declared dead and was laid to rest just 3 days later. Due to an insurance policy worth 200,000 somethings, I'm not sure what, that was taken out on Hayes just days before the accident, insurance investigators requested his body to be exhumed. I did this last time I recorded it too, but I'm going to leave it in this time just to show you guys I'm not perfect and I don't edit myself all the time. Once forensic examiners saw Hayes, they were in shock when they realized that despite being buried in a coffin for 2 days, his body was still warm. Why was he still warm? Examiners later determined that Hayes was never dead, but instead was in a coma caused by his head injury. I know for me personally, I would hate to be buried alive. That's way up there on my list of fears. I'm sure that's the same with many of you out there. Although Hayes had to endure several operations, he made a full recovery. Now, how did he survive being buried alive for 2 days? Well, due to the serious head injury that put him in a coma, his body no longer needed the normal amount of oxygen necessary for survival. Therefore, he was had required very little oxygen to survive. Now, coming off of last week's Brain Scratch, here we have another story from early 1900s. And I have to admit, when I looked into this, I wasn't sure if I could really believe in it or not. So I tried to look into a few aspects of it. First of all, I was wondering why he wasn't embalmed. And I did just a little bit of research into the history of embalming. Of course, for certain cultures, it goes back thousands of years. But more recently, we have, just here in the U.S., we've really only gotten into it since the Civil War era, according to Wikipedia. And outside of that, we do have some religions that still don't support embalming. because it's a religious belief. So it looks like most branches of the Christian faith generally allow for embalming, but traditional Jewish law forbids embalming or cremation, and embalming is not practiced by Muslims before they bury their deceased at all. So I was hoping that I could have found something to try to prove or disprove the theory off that. I can't, because I specifically don't know about the practices in France at that time, but from what I'm seeing culturally and worldwide, I don't think that embalming might have been all that popular at that time. But there's one other aspect of this case that kind of bothers me just a little bit, and that is the oxygen that it would take, or the oxygen that would remain in the casket, and how much could you breathe of that. So I did find just a little tidbit here on popsci.com, and they're talking about how much oxygen would be left in there. I'm assuming that this is starting from once the body takes up a certain amount of space. They're saying that leaves 820 liters of air, 1/5 of which, 164 liters, is oxygen. If a trapped person consumes half a liter of oxygen per minute, it would take almost 5.5 hours before all the oxygen in the coffin was consumed. So now the twist in this story is they're talking about him being in a coma, and wouldn't that change his rate of consumption? I couldn't really find good information about oxygen consumption while people are in a coma. I did find some about oxygen consumption when people are sleeping, and according to just some light searches I did on that, you consume about 90% of the same amount of oxygen when you're sleeping as you do when you're just sitting awake in a resting position. So unless you're in a coma and your body is going into some real reserve mode of needing way less that I just can't find the information for, I'm kind of not sure about this time frame, especially for him being buried for 2 days. If being in a coma is like being asleep in terms of oxygen consumption, I don't think that he would have gotten more than, at the most, maybe 15 hours before he would have run out of oxygen in there with him. So for him to have been there in 2 days, for 2 days, doesn't quite sound great to me. I don't know if I could really buy into that. But according to Wikipedia, that's not the end of his story. Following several surgeries and rehab, Hayes made a complete recovery and went on to become a minor French celebrity. People traveled from afar to speak with him, and in the 1970s he went on tour with a security coffin he invented, which featured thick upholstery, a food locker, chemical toilet, library, and radio transmitter. I love that he has the radio transmitter, because he would figure, okay, that'll give you a way to call for help. But then he's added all these other things so that you could stay in there a while. I mean, you've got a toilet, you've got food, you've got a library, so you can read. I'm surprised they didn't talk about what he would use as a light source, because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to burn a candle in there. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff about this story. I'm really not sure if I buy it or not, but it's fun nonetheless, and I just wanted to thank Babel Froggy for sending it my way, and I wanted to share it with all of you guys. So outside of that, I hope my second test of the equipment here has gone a bit better than the first, and if you notice anything about it, if there's, the audio isn't sounding great to you or something like that, please let me know in the comments below, because I still have a number of days before the live event. I might be able to make some further tweaks and even make things a little bit sweeter, which of course is what I'm trying to do for you guys all the time. Let me see, did that bring it back to, hey, yeah, it's me, I'm here. Thank you guys. I have to get used to that now too. Now it's another thing to think about. Oh, remember to switch your camera views on the fly while you're talking to people in the middle of it. Hey guys, I'm learning, but I'm doing it for you guys. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you're having a great day. Take care, everyone. Hope to see you Friday, but if nothing else, I'll see you right back here on the Lord and Arts channel.